Hello, it's me Bradley and welcome back to my podcast. My family and friends know that I am fanatical about video games, that I have a real passion for playing and researching them. There are particular genres that I like, including JRPGs, ARPGs, SRPGs, hack and slash and platformers. So I tend to use YouTube to watch premieres and live streams of new video game reveals. If I am able, I tend to purchase the latest games in the genres that I enjoy. However, there is always my birthday and Christmas to look forward to. I know there are many platforms used to play video games, but I particularly use the Nintendo Switch. I regularly download demos of new games to gain an understanding on how the game works. If I like it, I endeavour to buy it. This time, I am here to tell you about the video game Fire Emblem Three Houses. This game released on the 26th of July 2019. The game revolves around a mercenary called Byleth, in which a chance encounter leads him, or her, to Garrikmok Monastery. Here, Byleth becomes a teacher who leads the students into dangerous missions against bandits and enemy soldiers, which have made an enemy of the Church of Seros. However, as I soon learned, the second half of the story changes dramatically based on the house that the player decides to lead into battle. The three houses are the Blue Lions, Golden Deer, and the Black Eagles. The four paths that the game branches off into are known as Azure Moon, Crimson Flower, Verdant Winds, and Silver Snow. These paths determine who Byleth sides with and who they are against. During the second act, Byleth will have to face off against the Overlord's army until there is only one House Lord remaining. Before I continue with the story, I think I ought to introduce you to the hero Byleth. If you choose the male gender, he is a human mercenary and stands out because of his green hair. He appears to look athletic because he is trained in the use of weaponry. Depending on how well the player has trained the character, he will be able to wield multiple weapons and skills that will be handy in combat. Obviously, the fights take place in many different locations, such as Gonda Field, Conan Tower, Taltian Plains, and many more. Some exciting locations. Now on with the story. The story begins to take a grim turn when Solon, who is an Ingarthan spy, attacks the village of Ramir with magic that forces the citizens to become berserk. A month after stopping the invasion, a nearby chapel is swarmed by demonic beasts attacking the innocents trapped by the rampage. After defeating these beasts, Konya, who had disguised herself as a missing student of the church, stabs Byleth's father, Geralt Eisner, in retaliation for ruining their plan against the church. Just to say that a month in this game includes solving clues, exploration of where you are, side quests and paralogs, which are special missions requiring Byleth helping out with missions not set by the church. The next mission leads the player into a fight against Konya and Solon, but defeating them comes at a price. Byleth winds up trapped in a dimension where everything is dark and cannot be seen. Fortunately, with help from a god known as Sophis, he is able to free himself from that dimension by gaining supernatural powers and strength gifted by Sophis, as Byleth is a vessel who has the power of the progenitor god. Shortly after the events that took place, the Archbishop Rhea takes the class down to the Holy Tomb to see if Byleth will receive a revelation by the gods. However, the tomb is then raided by soldiers from the Adresian Empire, led by the Flame Emperor, whose true identity shocks the entire church. Following the raid on the Holy Tomb, an invasion on the church happens shortly afterwards. Byleth ends up forced to fall down a crevice which leaves him asleep for 5 years. Once Byleth awakens, the game is split into 4 paths based on the house the player chooses, or the hidden routes that can be unlocked during the Black Eagle's path. From here on, the 3 houses will fight for their beliefs and break through their enemy's army until either Edelgard or Archbishop Rhea is dead, and there is only one house left in power. Since I won't go into too much detail as not to spoil the major endgame, I will change the subject to the scrapped content that was cut from the final version of the game. Geralt Eisner, Rhea, and the god named Sophis were supposed to be playable characters, but ended up being NPCs instead. There was also going to be the concept of raising a horse, but that too was also scrapped. Yaritza would have been able to be recruited earlier on at the monastery. Betrayals from the units based on the house that you picked were also scrapped. Pity. It would have been an interesting turn of events. There is other unused content, but it doesn't affect the story in any major way apart from unused dialogue in battle. For those who are wondering, the game is recommended for teenagers and not to be sold to children below the age of 12. The game is an exciting story for those who love Nintendo games and strategy combat with a unique story. So, if anyone is interested, go check it out! This game is also receiving a new spin-off called Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, which is releasing later this year. However, this spin-off falls into the Musou hack and slash genre and might not be to everyone's preferences. However, if anyone is a fan of this genre and Fire Emblem, I'm sure this will be a perfect addition to the collection. I can recommend the Fire Emblem franchise as it takes skill and determination to succeed in the various fights and quests. You get to know the characters and sometimes their backstories. The soundtrack is dramatic, using an orchestral score. However, there are lighter moments, particularly when exploring the monastery before the next major battle. The box art for the game is eye-catching and enticing. The cover depicts the 3 house lords in combat, and the colour of the weapons show the colour of their house they represent. So, 3 realms, 3 houses, your decision. The fate of Ferdinand rests on your judgment. Enjoy your missions.